My high school counselor once told me I'd never amount to anything. So I framed all my rejection letters around my Nobel Prize and mailed her a photo. It was senior year when I was called into Mrs. Phillips's office to talk about college applications. She had this way of looking over her glasses like you were something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. She flipped through my file with a smirk and said, "Well, Emily, I see you're applying to MIT, Stanford, and Caltech." I nodded, excited to talk about the applications I had poured my heart into. I'd kept a perfect GPA, won the state science fair twice, and interned at research labs every summer. But Mrs. Phillips just sighed and pushed my file aside like it was contaminated. "Let's be realistic," she said. "You're from a small town with no connections. Your parents are teachers, not tech executives. Your science project was clever, but hardly revolutionary." I tried to explain that a research professor wanted me to co-author a paper with him, but she held up her hand. "Let me save you the disappointment. Schools like that want exceptional students, not just hardworking ones. You're simply not exceptional. Focus on state schools, that's where you belong." I left her office feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. MIT had been my dream since I was 12. But spite, as it turns out, is a powerful motivator. I submitted those applications anyway, and added Princeton and Harvard just to be extra defiant. The rejections rolled in, each one like a paper cut to my confidence. Even MIT waitlisted me before ultimately rejecting me. The only school that said yes was State University, which offered me a small scholarship. The day before graduation, Mrs. Phillips saw me in the hallway and asked about my college plans with that same smug look. When I told her I was going to State, she nodded knowingly. "I told you so, didn't I? Better to have realistic expectations than set yourself up for disappointment." Something hardened in me that day. I wasn't just going to prove her wrong. I was going to obliterate every part of her assessment. State University turned out to be exactly what I needed. The physics department wasn't famous, but the professors cared about undergrads. I thrived. By junior year, my research in quantum computing got attention beyond our campus. A visiting professor from MIT read my paper and invited me to apply to their PhD program. This time, when I got the acceptance letter, I cried for an hour. During my PhD, I worked on what would become my Nobel-winning breakthrough, an advancement in quantum entanglement that revolutionized secure communication and computing. The New York Times called it the most significant leap in quantum physics in decades. When the Nobel Committee called, I thought it was a prank. I was only 41, practically a baby in Nobel years. The day after the Nobel ceremony in Stockholm, I pulled out a dusty old box and found every single rejection letter I'd kept, including a handwritten note from Mrs. Phillips advising me to accept my limitations. I had them all framed in a perfect circle around my Nobel Prize certificate, then hired a professional photographer to take a photo. I sent it to her with a simple note. "Found my level. Thank you for your guidance. Dr. Emily Chun, Nobel laureate." A month later, I got a letter back. She had apparently retired, but the school forwarded the package. All it said was, "I always knew you had potential. I'm so proud to have been your counselor." I laughed so hard I cried, and then I framed that letter too. It now hangs in my office at MIT, where I run the quantum computing department. Not bad for someone who wasn't exceptional. Every time I give a graduation speech, I tell students, never let anyone define your potential, not even your teachers. Especially not your teachers. The most dangerous voice is the one that tells you what you can't do. Some people will always try to shrink your dreams to fit their expectations. Mine just happened to fit in a Nobel Prize ring.